Welcome back, PetaPixel viewers. It's Chris Nichols here.
And it's Jordan Drake here.
And we're going to talk about something a little bit interesting today. Apple has just released a big update for the Final Cut Pro for iPad software.
Yes.
Unlocked some really nice features. I mean, I'm excited about being able to actually work off of external SSDs.
Finally.
Yeah, not dump all the footage onto your iPad to work on it. But it also unlocks a new multicam feature. We want to talk about that today. We're actually recording on a multicam setup right now.
Yeah, and Final Cut's had multicam for a long time where you could just bring it in, sync it up afterwards. What's cool about this is, while you're recording it, you get a heads-up monitor of all of your cameras so you can check your composition, but you also get camera control with it.
Yes.
And one thing we should mention that's very important is you need a separate app for all of those cameras. So you have to use the Final Cut camera app. Once you download that, then it'll kick it over to the Final Cut for iPad.
Yep.
And yes, you'll be able to control all of those cameras. It almost feels like a switching board, but like not exactly. It's missing a feature of a switching board that makes it a switching board.
Yeah, so we actually recorded last night with Tyler Stalman, a good friend of ours. We did an episode of his podcast using the multicam setup. So you can have up to 4 devices connected. They can be phones, they can be iPads. Quite interesting. They can be older phones, like down to like the 10S and older iPads. Yeah. So this is actually a great way to reuse old phones you might have sitting around.
Or just like if you have people over, like I keep going back to musicians. This makes so much sense. Like, hey, everyone, just bring your iPhones, even if they're older, and we'll be able to use those as camera angles, record multicam while you're over there.
So we got all hooked up with Tyler Stalman. You should watch the Stalman podcast, see that episode. You can see another example of the multicam.
It'll be up shortly.
At work, yes. So what was very cool about that is we used the iPad as actually just a base station, not as a camera angle. We had 4 phones set up as a camera angle, and that way the iPad could be your monitor for all the stuff. You could control all the other phones. But right now, today, we're actually using one of the iPads as a camera angle as well. You could also have HDMI going out. We did that the other night.
Yeah, so then you've got like a big director's monitor kind of idea. And it was great for, like you were saying, as a guest, because you could just look over, check the composition, everything like that. See if I was screwing up any of the camera settings while I'm poking around on that, playing more like a producer role.
But we had you on as a sort of director-producer role, thinking that we could live switch during the recording. And unfortunately, that is not something you can do on the multicam.
So basically the workflow there, I mean, if we could do live switching, you'd be able to, as it's going, choose your camera angles, and the editing's done when you finish the recording.
Somebody starts talking, director clicks onto that camera, and you have all that saved in the timeline. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
No, so what you'll have to do, the multicam support in Final Cut's really nice, but you're going to have to afterwards play through that entire recording and choose which angle is going, not in real time, but after the fact. And we were talking about if you were doing, again, like a song that you wanted to record.
No big deal.
But if you're doing an hour-and-a-half long podcast, then yes, that is where
you got to watch the whole thing, do all your edits
switching.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. But the actual interface, quite easy to set up. You can change white balance, exposure. You can't change camera tint, though. That's something we'd like to see, especially when you're working with different artificial lighting.
That was something I ran into. I was getting a bit of a green cast in one of the cameras, and unfortunately I wasn't able to fix that. But again, it's going into Final Cut editing where you'll be able to just quickly slide that tint slider over. But it was something I wish I could change on the go.
But you can absolutely focus the cameras. You can also lock focus, which is really nice. And so this is a very good, cool setup. I mean, this is what we're doing right now. I've got a camera angle on me, got a camera angle on you, and the iPad as well. So let's talk about sound recording. When we were recording with Tyler, we did do a separate sound sync, but I mean, this will actually record sound from all the devices, put it onto the tracks, right?
Yeah, you'll be able to see your audio levels while you're rolling as well. And honestly, like a lot of the new iPhones have pretty good microphones in them, not enough to cancel out like a loud, echoey living room, unfortunately. The other thing that you can see from that display is the power, which is actually really important because all of these have pretty good battery life, but especially if you're using like an older iPhone or something, recording constant 4K, it's going to just chew through that battery.
Yeah, you don't want that headache, especially if you're doing like a long podcast or something, hour and a half, something like that, which is actually a great segue because today for our multicam setup...
Oh, what's that over there? I know what that is.
What is it, Jordan?
So that's the Anker Prime 27,650 milliamp battery. And what's great with this, it's giving out 250 watts total power. Wow. So, we can keep 2 USB-C iPads topped up with it. That's really nice that way, and has a display so we can kind of see the status that's remaining on it.
Right. Yeah, so before you got here, you can get this base station with it, which charges the battery, right? But then also the base station has twin USB-C out and USB-A out as well. So while I'm charging the battery, I could also top up the iPad, the phone, like 3 devices.
Just have everything ready to go when people get there. And then you have the peace of mind as well. We've got the battery here.
Same thing, 2 USB-C outs. out and the USB-A if we need to use it. We're just charging up the iPads right now, but very convenient to have as a portable battery solution.
Yeah, and it really saved us actually when we were shooting with Tyler Stalman. He was using the GH7 for separate sound sync.
Right.
And we're just recording, and it's like, why is that tally lamp flashing? Like, oh no, we didn't plug in the GH7. And because it's portable, instead of like going and plugging into the wall or something like that, I can just move the battery over, plug it in, and we got through the rest of the
There you go. Your role as a director/producer was useful, actually, even without live switching.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently I'm an electrician as well. I don't know.
Nice product, guys. Should definitely check it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks to Anker for sponsoring this episode.
Okay, so Jordan, let's talk about like where this setup works, where the strength of this is, and some other alternatives, because I feel like this multicam setup with the Apple will be great, as we've talked about, for YouTube creators, musicians, that kind of stuff. But I feel like there are other solutions for podcasts and like interviews, which might work better. So we've also played with the Logitech Mevo. There it is. So these are like a box. The cool thing here is you're getting micro four thirds sensor. So a little bit better image quality.
Micro four thirds lens mount. That's the
That's huge. Yeah. You can change to big telephotos if you're going to do outdoor work, wildlife, sports, that kind of stuff. And you can live switch in their app that connects actually through an iPad as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has the switching built into their app, but their app isn't an editing suite.
No.
The other thing about the Logitech is for every camera angle you want, you are buying another camera, because all your friends aren't going to have a bunch of Logitech Mevos kicking around, but there's a pretty good chance that they have iPhones or an iPad. I think they're actually quite different systems. This makes a lot more sense for just like a fixed location where you can get fairly close, because like honestly, the iPhone's telephotos are they're not great.
They're not like a micro four thirds telephoto in front of a big sensor. Absolutely. Certainly, the Logitech is going to kill it for outdoor sports or maybe wildlife setups.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the big thing here, this feels
concerts
very early to me because I can see like if you add live switching to it. Tint control is a kind of a no-brainer on that. But the other thing too is, why don't we have this for Final Cut for desktop? Like, you know what? I don't have an iPad because I've got this wonderful MacBook Pro that can do all kinds of stuff. I want to see the support for this brought into, the Final Cut desktop app as well. I hope they don't keep like segmenting the product features between those two different apps. So there's still there's no system that covers everything, which is what I was hoping we'd see with the new Final Cut for iPad, where it's switching, editing all in one place.
Regardless, what's really cool about this is how portable it is, how you can just use external batteries that you can take with you, set it up, and not really need any other equipment. I mean, we could be doing this outside if we wanted to as well. So that is pretty cool. So hopefully this helps you guys decide if this is the right product for you. Regardless, it's nice to see that we have these new updates with the Final Cut Pro for iPad. There are some substantial improvements here. And again, check out the podcast. It's on this exact same channel, so you can watch our podcast here or listen to it on all your favorite podcasting apps. Also, check out the Stalman podcast. Then you can see, again, an example of this multicam setup. And you should check out his content as well. It's excellent.
Give this video a like, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. You know what? If you can get us to 225,000 subscribers, Chris and I are going to go back and work at a camera store. And we will be producing an episode. I know you all want to see that. So
that would be fun.
Hit the subscription, but thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all again soon with more on PetaPixel.